It was a cold and snowy day, the kind of day where the weather reflected the unpredictability of what was. I was lost in the sea of my attention, surrounded by a fog that hosted the demons of torment. Then out of nowhere, I heard the lighthouse of your voice. I could not see, but I felt your space within. For too long, I have been trapped as a victim in the echoes of my mind. Venom coursed through my veins as toxic words fumbled with each other while impatiently waiting to be spewed. My body slammed in anguish, battered from years of being lost and blinded by the rage of my victim's cry. I straddled a thin line between here and there as I swirled in my hangover of grief. My arms acted like a cane that swayed side to side, gingerly searching for a lifeline as I prayed that hope would shelter me from the turmoil of my memories. My mind was a distorted canvas of vibrant colors that housed the whirlwinds of chaos as I stood fully exposed at the crossroads of my discomfort. And for a moment, my heart forgot its purpose and skipped beats of tears that flooded its chambers with waters that inevitably flooded and drowned me. At that same moment, your voice was an invitation to the door of my rebirth. I was cocooned in a placenta of the unknown as dark clouds rained the numbness of sadness. Like a deer in the headlight, I stood paralyzed, unable to run from the fight. My suffering had reached its boiling point from years of one-sided piled up perceptions beneath the canopy of my forest. Psychosis or the burning bush, either way, your voice echoed from the valley of my shadows as a lifeline to the madness of that moment. A voice I knew, a voice I know. The tenor of your voice was like a sunset backdrop in the eye of my storm, a gift from the depths that provided a force field protecting my battered souls as wave gingerly crashed over me, each serving as a reminder to the spirit I am. Caught in the intersectionality of the second, space was an illusion of linear time, and I was an unbalanced hiccup of insight awaiting an audience. The gentleness of your voice revealed wonders to my discomfort. I was still unsure of how or why, but unknowingly the process of shedding my old skin of suffering had begun. There is a beginning and an end to all of life. My dash is my vault of wisdom to where my experiences are deposited and insight awaits withdrawal. It also houses your voice as a reminder that the light cannot exist without the dark. I am but one drop in an ocean of drops. I am here now to experience all. Otherwise, this journey would be pointless and quite frankly, boring. So until further notice, I'm celebrating every damn thing. End of poem. Thank you so much, poets. My name is Rawle. It's I am David. It's like my middle name is actually Ian. I am was a mistake when I first opened my Facebook account years ago. I called a friend asking her, how do I change this? Because I didn't know how to maneuver Facebook at the time. And she goes, I am is actually quite fitting for you, so keep it. So I've kept it ever since. So anyway, I'm honored to be here in such greatness. I just love listening to all the poets. I'm just a little boy from a small little island called Trinidad and Tobago that had the opportunity to live in Brooklyn, Toronto, LA, Washington, DC. Now I'm back in Toronto. And Teresa, I get your point. I come from the corporate world. We live in a world now where capitalism is not true anymore. It's all about profit and we've forgotten about humanity. So when I start off a set, I start off with this poem because this piece symbolizes that awakening that I had, that invitation to step out of my victimhood. Previous to this, I was a very angry man that looked good in a suit. But I was angry because of the things that happened in my past that I couldn't make sense of. Why did they happen to me? So I was stuck in victimhood. When I heard that voice, it was an invitation for me to step into understanding who I truly am beyond this meat suit. So that's one of the reasons that poem has such significance for me, because it represents and it captures December 17th, 2001 at 1:45 in the PM when I heard that voice. That opened up a whole new understanding, not of the world, of myself. So I'm honored to share and be here with you guys today. I have no idea when I write things. I don't date them, so I'm just going to read what I feel that I need to read in the moment. My next piece, something a little different. I'm going to bounce back and forth. This is a piece that I wrote earlier this year. I think this is one of the first pieces I wrote when I came back to Toronto back in October. It's called Magnificence in the Desolation. I am sitting with coffee in hand in the silence of falling snow, contemplating writing. The busyness of the day shuffles past as blurs of countless destinations, while the despair of this moment disappears into an empty home. The beauty of the blanketing snow is lost in the unstable sadness of hope, leaving me to ponder my attention as an observer in the illusion of my own mind. My response is to remove the restrictions, to see the magnificence in the desolation as I come face to face with myself, discarding the importance of how you choose to see. I swept my understanding of conditioned thinking to embrace the free-flowing verses of jazz in the surreal cadence of my spiritual understanding. I'm a rebellious moment, discarding the beliefs that mankind is disconnected from Yah's grace, that we are somehow separated by pigmentation, and that the duality of knowledge limits our potential. I see divinity everywhere I go and in everyone I encounter, which ignites a romantic unity of salvation. Someday the pilgrims will sit by the river to take in the cries of our souls, hoping to understand that respecting life is not utopic. To hold a sense of moral obligation that surpasses material things and the sanctity of what is sacred in the reverence of our human spirit. As I step out of my meditative moments of solitude, coffee is almost complete. I wonder if the deers in the adjacent meadow or the darting birds that I see dancing in and out of the space between snowflakes have evolved beyond the limited thought that life is not fair. Maybe they have come to the understanding that we're all walking seeds of life bound by gravity and to the dust and ashes of our existence. And just maybe they have the ability to live past beyond fear's limitation, to be free as spiritual beings that inspire the air that binds us as one. End of piece. This next piece is, I think this is my newest piece. I have a bunch that are open in my Google Doc, but this is, I think it's finished. I'm sure you guys can all identify. I don't know if a poem's ever finished, but I try to put it away after a while so I can work on other ones. So this one is called My Phoenix is Grounded. The exile is real. As the blindfold of justice is being removed, as most passively witness their own migration from common sense. Our land of freedoms more and more feel like a one-sided democratic indoctrination of obedience. We are the prize of conquests and economic values, for there is no empire without the people. How can a government give you something if they have not already taken it away? It's the never-ending cycle of a mindset that says someone else knows best how you should be, how you should live, and how you should die. I say, wake the fuck up. The truth of unsustainable policy is reinforced by the divinity of the state, as the repeat mantra of do as I say, not as I do, is drilled into our repetitive lives. Once again, the dawn has brought me back to the discomfort of disillusion as my phoenix lies grounded from the volcanic ashes of ideology. More and more minds identify with the imposition of life, while many struggle with understanding their own perceptions. It feels like the worst of times as the days reveal the politics of correctness, as voices look to the listening sky, hoping for an inspired exodus. Out of the grief and pain of unvetted emotions from this woke generation, control and censorship mask freedoms while we chase unrealistic paradise. All the while, the majority accepts a devalued narrative that yields segregation, which values shaming those not with the flow. While in the spectrum of absolutes, pointing fingers and shouting debates are the hallmarks of this new democracy. What happened to our humanity? We now live in times where questioning is a phobia and common sense is on an extended vacation, sunbathing by the pool of one-sided ideas. The answer we seek lies inside the beauty of permanence, for change is constant. If I can only get a taste of an answer, I can overcome the hypocrisy of these times. Empathy and resiliency are not just words, but a practice that can heal this divide, for it is out of the ashes that the phoenix rose to embrace the discomfort of transformation. The invitation is to remember that respect is not just between individuals, but it must exist within the institutions that govern. Otherwise, the phoenix will forever be grounded in this climate of insanity that casts judgment over the reoccurring consequences of yesterday's choices. Think of it this way. When pointing fingers at others, you just might get stones thrown back. The times are asking us to collectively look within and to get our own house in order. Otherwise, Lady Liberty's torch will burn the house down. Freedom is not for the faint of heart. Then again, what the heck do I know? End of piece. It's interesting doing these features and writing and reading poetry. Poetry came into my life, like, I think 12 years ago now, when I was teaching at a private college in Kelowna, British Columbia, which is in Western Canada. And I was positioning an assignment to my students. And I'm the one that wrote the curriculum, so I knew exactly what I was supposed to be saying. And then this blast of inspiration came down, and I gave my students this assignment to write a poem. And as I'm saying this, I'm like, where the heck is this coming from? But I knew where it's coming from. And I decided if I'm going to give them that assignment, I'm going to write a poem. So I wrote a poem, and that's how this whole madness started. And I'm so glad the mistress of poetry showed up at my door, because it's opened a world and that I didn't imagine. And I get to meet wonderful people like you from around the world that have a love for sharing poetry. And I do love poetry. I'm not a traditional poet. I just use poetry as a means to invite people to understand who they are, so you can see and feel our humanity, because I am, because you are. We are in this together. So this next piece is called Tumble Tumble, something a little different. Tumble, tumble. My thoughts forever tumble forward, bouncing from hope to wish and back to the ethers. Do my thoughts hope? Are my hopes a wish for formulated ideas sprouting from the soil of undreamt dreams, becoming a garden that enriches the art of my soul, fruitful to the imagination of my inner child. Tumble, tumble like a child, always forward, soulfully playing with possibilities. My thoughts journey from my heart's eye, fueling the dreams and hopes that feeds imagination's life. Words that forever tumble forward, wishing upon planted seeds that wills imagination hope. End of poem. I'm just trying to pull out some different poems. That's an older poem, and just trying to give you a taste of, the different sides of Rawle. I'll try to end and to follow my friend Richard's lead and end with a poem or that has some humor in it. So, but my poetry does tend to reflect life and what I think is going on in life. So This one is called Unrealistic Paradise. That title sounds familiar because I mentioned it in another poem. Pain and suffering weigh down the psyche like a ship's anchor as it threatens the cradle of critical thinking that questions. The shame of reason is accompanied by thunderous guilt, and at times we forget that life is a struggle by design. The gloom of pessimism hovers over the dark clouds of progress as it lifts a one-sided perception of an unrealistic paradise. We seek to make the best of possibilities in the constraint as we balance the myth with the notion of our human brilliance. So out of the fertile earth, memories of the ancestors beacon as we venture into the digital clouds of metadata. And as we emerge from the paradigm of despair and ignorance, we fall into mayhem's merry-go-round and the ideology that binds. Only together can we experience the cycle of life as the torch of time carries the DNA of generations past. A cumulative choice yields the angst and the depravity void of light as we unmask the shadows of consequences we still fear. The more things change, the more change stays constant. Today was yesterday's future. That's what powers the next dawn. For I am the good, the bad, the ugly, and the beautiful. We are to serve the purpose of life. For I am, because you are. End of piece. And this one is kind of a buddy to that last one. I actually wrote this and it was one poem and then I shared it with a friend and she goes, you know, actually there's two poems in here. So I took her advice and I wrote, so here's part two. It's called The Climate of Dissidence. 'Tis the ever increasing divide in our midst as the torrent waters breach our patience. It floods our hearts and welcomes pain, increasing the rapids of doubt and uncertainty. As we spiral down the rabbit hole into a climate of dissidence, castles of sandbags are built to break the swollen rage. The debris of intolerance, loathing, and segregation wash upon the shores as our untethered soul cries no more. Beauty is lost in the turmoil of something rising as power shifts to overwhelm the communal sense. Are we so blinded by the potential of crisis that we forget the storms of past that we've weathered? These times serve as a reminder of the lessons learned and lost, a caveat to the lightning of love that strikes in the thunder clouds. My sleep shelters the demons that wanders dark lusts, as fear cloaks the limitlessness of constructed truth. Out of the altered realm, I am pushed into the array of the unknown, still fearing I am a lily among the thorns of false crowns. Battered and bruised by the chameleon's charm, there is still no surrender in this heart. For my truth is my book of life that is housed in the Akashic library that is life. End of poem. Let me know what my time is like, David. I think I have a couple of more, if that's...
Absolutely, yeah, 2 or 3 minutes, but do what you must, you know. We love.
Well, I got probably 3 I want to go through. The last 2 are pretty short. This is a poem I just dusted out. I haven't read this in a long time, and I figured, you know what? Let's do it some justice and give it some love and put it in the feature. So it's called I've Dreamt of a Life. I've dreamt of a life not yet lived that plays out in a wondrous tale starring my unborn self. It echoes lucid waves of silence. For out of the void, a ripple of sonic that crests high towards its final tumble into a portal of psychedelic shooting stars as yesterday's thoughts crash upon the shores of my untested soul. My fears pinhole the heavens like stars in a deceptive dance. They act like an accumulated signal of the destructive creation that is matter, igniting forth the volcanic eruption that lays the bedrock to dissolution of my insanity. In a blink, I expand the concept of me on swirling winds of my alter ego as I try to make sense of the idea that is me. In the next blink, rainbows serenade the clouds with arcing smiles, spotlighting the runway of duality's anchors of love and fear. They play hide and seek among the landscape of possibilities that paint against a backdrop as space is at odds with itself. And as I fight through the dark matter that swarms and the madness that blinds the madness, I succumb to gravity falling through the empty vastness of quiet. So I embrace the past, present, and future of this dream in a full embrace that is me. I am a storm of thoughts that cling to the strings of matter and the energies that are neither near nor far. For within everything and nothing, I am still attached to my untested soul. End of poem. And I will end with two short ones. Like I said, following my friend Richard. I read this last week when I was featured at OB Hive, and people seem to like it, so I figured I'll bust it out here. It's completely different. In my world, you have sticky ones, you have crunchy ones, you have green ones, you have slimy ones. You have ones that play hide and seek. You have ones that it takes days to get out. You have ones that just jump right out. You have salty ones, you have minty ones. You can pick it, you can flick it. You can roll it around in your fingers. You can feed it to your cat. You can wipe it on the wall or stick it on your friend's back. You can even scare your mom with it. You can save it under the dinner table. But the next time your mom says, "Get your finger out of your nose," you can just simply say, "But mom, boogers have protein too." End of poem. And then this last one is probably my poem of love for life. It's called It Matters Not. It matters not that we walk together for me to love you, for my love reflects spirit. It matters not if you see my love, for my love is the hope in us all. It matters not if you can hear my love, for my love is the sound that echoes eternal life. It matters not if you can feel my love, for my love beats in the hearts of all. It matters not if you know the touch of my love, for my love is the inhaled breath that is life. It matters not if you know of my love, for my love lives now and in all the days to come. It matters not anything, for my love for you is everything. End of poem, end of set. Thank you, poets. I am a humble, grateful servant to poetry and to my fellow human beings. David, thank you for this honor. And thank you, Spoken World Online.